Greetings. Our study was entitled The Workload of Senior High School Teachers, Traditional Classes versus Online Classes. And the authors are as follows: F.G. Charles Cordero, Emerin J. Larios, Von Christian Caberoy, Lian Patrick Justnes, Alea A. Leba, and Kristen Sebag. With, of course, your presenter for today, Catherine Cosio. The emergence of the pandemic known as coronavirus 2019 or COVID 19 has led to many changes in the lifestyle and system structure of countries across the globe. President Rodrigo Duterte encouraged schools on following SHED's advisory to use available distance learning, e learning, and other alternative modes of delivery. Central Philippine University Senior High School Department is one to have shifted to e-learning with classes held on Zoom or Google Meet. Consequently, teachers will be facing challenges in adjusting and befitting to the decided learning method. According to the study findings of Upinga and Moga in 2008, online courses are identified as a disproportionate investment of time and effort towards faculty and staff in terms of their workload compared to traditional face to face classes. This study generally aimed to compare the differences between the workload of senior high school teachers in traditional classes and in online classes. Specifically, it's aimed to 1. Identify which mode of classes, traditional class or online class, is more disadvantageous in terms of resources. 2. Determine which mode bear heavier responsibilities in terms of efforts. 3. Identify which mode poses greater difficulties. For our theoretical framework, faculty workload is a major constituent of being a teacher. This is the tedious obligations in traditional and online classes that the obvious tendency is a work overload for teachers. To illustrate further, the researchers made use of the multiple resource theory of Christopher Wickens, sometimes called the workload theory. Wickens posited that simultaneous tasks that require similar resources, for example, tasks done by the teachers that evolve around cognitive activities, that may then interfere with one another and will usually reduce efficiency and quality of work. As cited in the study of Wickens, Navin, and Goffer, when the demand exceeds the capacity, as with any economic system, performance will break down. Too much of these school related workloads will eventually propagate to emotional, physical, and mental burnout of the teachers. This study was limited to the comparison between the workload of Central Philippine University senior high school teachers in traditional classes and in online classes. Respondents were the teachers with 1 year minimum of teaching experience in the department, and we're currently conducting online classes for school year 2020-2021. This was a descriptive comparative study that initiated data collection using an online questionnaire in a limited time framework. Despite the flexibility of data gathering, researchers were able to retrieve data from only 86.2% of the total population of senior high school teachers due to inevitable circumstances. As for our significance of this study, our number one benefactor will be the senior high school teachers. The results of this study will serve as a platform to voice out the concerns of the educators regarding online classes. Second will be the university. Results of this study may serve as a plenary basis in ensuring the well-being of the department's faculty members in terms of their workloads and methods. This can also contribute to the quality and services of the institution itself. Third are the learners. This will help them recognize the struggles of their teachers and efforts to provide an effective learning environment despite the circumstances. Last but not the least, for the future researchers, this study will serve as a baseline, guide, and reference to future related researches. Proceeding to our methodology. As for the design, the study utilized a questionnaire approach of quantitative research in the form of descriptive comparative, which focused on collecting quantifiable information in the workload of senior high school teachers in comparison between traditional classes and online classes. As for our sampling, the study utilized total enumeration sampling, a type of sampling technique that involved examining the entire population. As for our data collection, the researchers sent an electronic mail to the senior high school office requesting the list of the faculty members and their email addresses. Informed consents along with the link to the online questionnaire were distributed individually to the teachers through email, messenger, or both. Respondents were directed to Google Forms, and the responses made by each submission have equivalent significance. Data collected were processed and analyzed using descriptive statistics measure of frequency. The researchers recorded the number of responses using a frequency table as a numerical tool. Following numbers of responses attested that either it was traditional or online classes that it was proven to be true corresponding to each question, then determined the frequencies and percentages gained by each mode. There were three categories of workload: the resources category, efforts category, and difficulty category. Those who directly answered the specific objectives of this study. Proceeding to our findings, results of this study show that the majority of the respondents considered online classes to be disadvantageous in terms of all the three categories of workloads: the resources, efforts, and difficulty category. For the resources category, 7 in every 10 chose online classes to have consumed more of the resources compared to 3 in every 10 that said it was with traditional classes. This shows that this new method of class proves to be disadvantageous with regards to time, cost, SIM card load, and electricity that a teacher spends for his workload. In the efforts category, 8 in every 10 affirmed that online classes required them to exert more efforts in doing their usual workload as a teacher. This includes the preparations for class and discussions, counter-checking incomplete requirements, engaging students' participation, and monitoring students' performances. Whereas only 2 in every 10 said it is with traditional classes that needed more effort in terms of doing their workload. In the difficulty category, online classes deemed to be of greater percentage, with 8 in every 10 of the respondents choosing it to pose more setbacks or difficulties with regard to their workloads, whilst 2 in every 10 said that it is with traditional classes. There are many hindrances or external noises when conducting classes compared to traditional face-to-face that discussion can be brought right at hand. And as for our last part, which is the conclusions. Based on the findings of the study, the following conclusions were made. Number 1, when it comes to resources such as time, money, SIM card load, internet connection, and electricity, online classes are proven to be more consuming than traditional face-to-face classes. For number 2, teachers exert more effort to create a comfortable learning environment for online classes. Greater energy is expended in class discussions, student academic concerns, and paperworks. Number 3, online classes deal with more difficulties in communication, Student participation, online class, and attention. Teachers find the online classes challenging to maintain their roles. Number 4, balancing life with overlapping workloads in their career are equally difficult for both online and traditional classes. 5. Online classes is identified to be disadvantageous compared to traditional classes for it consumes more of the teacher's overall resources regarding their workloads. 6. Traditional classes consume more time in attending a meeting or a class. 7. Online classes require more effort in the workloads of teachers, thereby weighing and bearing heavier responsibilities than of traditional classes. And last conclusion, compared to the traditional face-to-face classes, online classes prove to be more disadvantageous, have heavier responsibilities, and poses greater difficulties. Based on the findings and conclusions made, these are the recommendations. For senior high school teachers, results of the study show that faculty members are also greatly affected with the study shift of traditional classes to online classes, especially in terms of their workloads. It is recommended for teachers to engage in workshops that help manage workload. In order to also prevent stress from greatly building up caused by excessive workload and screen time, mental health webinars can alleviate and help increase stress management. As for the recommendation for university, results of the study showed that the university can act upon these raised concerns pertaining to the workloads of senior high school CPU teachers. Satisfied and high-morale teachers greatly contribute to the quality and services of the institution itself, and can also suffice the needs of the learners for efficient learning, which will lead to the success of the university in this new normal. And for the learners, results of the study serve as an eye-opener to the learners that think they were just the ones who are affected by this, as well as a motivation for them to work just as hard. This helps them recognize the struggles of their teachers and efforts to provide an effective learning environment despite the circumstances. To the future researchers or researchers, results in this study serve as a baseline guide and reference in continuing or pursuing future research, whether it can be focused on teacher perceptions, stress management, or on the relationship between stress and workload. It is also recommended the Likert scale can be used for a more detailed description on a level of difficulties and effort put into teacher workload. Subject matter, teaching experience, and class size can be used as variables for further studies. Comparisons among variables can categorize the level of workload. And last, it is recommended to conduct the same studies among other universities, conducting survey reports among senior high school teacher workload level, intensity, and management. And yes, so that concludes our study, which is the workload of senior high school teachers, traditional classes versus online classes. Again, good afternoon to our research advisor, to our research coordinator, and to the panel of judges. I believe you have questions and clarifications in mind. So, yeah, we are ready to answer your queries. Thank you so much.